something we've been asking everyone is, what's your best advice for young photographers coming out of school these days and looking to enter the professional realm?
Well, the single biggest thing, and it sounds like a flip answer, but I'll explain it a little bit, is work hard. And I guess what I mean by that, it sounds so obvious to say it, work hard, but I would much rather, in my time at the National Geographic as director of photography, I would much rather hire a photographer who might not have the finest aesthetic on the planet, but who works really, really hard, rather than someone who is at the absolute top aesthetically and journalistically, but is lazy. And I think that it is true that the people who succeed at this profession at the highest level, just like the ones who succeed in athletics at the highest level, dedicate their lives to it. And I think that it should not be to the exclusion of all else, because if you're a journalist, a photojournalist, or a writing journalist, you have to be a well-rounded individual. But if you're not willing to work hard, if you're not willing to make this your #1 priority, somebody else will be, and they will succeed where you won't.
Okay. And your inspiration, where did you look for research, where did you look for artistic inspiration when coming up with new story ideas, or the people you've worked with?
Well, #1, at the Geographic, when I was director of photography, it would be extremely rare that a photographer who would not work for the magazine before would propose a story idea which was accepted, simply because of the economic investment in each coverage. You really have to be a known quantity. But again, I think that if a photographer is concentrating only on the aesthetics, then it will be very difficult to come up with story ideas that have journalistic validity. You must know the world, you must know everything, you must be interested in everything, you must be aware of what is being published in other publications, so that if you come up with an idea, you know it has a degree of uniqueness, and you have to be a well-rounded journalist to formulate story ideas, and then you have to be able to execute them visually once you have gotten the story approved. But it's the intellect of the photographer, and the intellect is the thing that's so often overlooked by young photographers. They think that their images alone, the quality, the aesthetic of the images will carry it. You got to be smart.
On this side of things, where is the best source of information, you think, for photographers to develop those business skills?
Well, it's an evolving business, and I think that there's an awful lot of information on the internet, but I think that there are also, in my experience, an awful lot of people out there who have set themselves up as self-appointed custodians of the business of photography. And I think that just like anything on the internet, you must be a good consumer of the information you see at the internet. Don't believe everything you see. Actually, I bumped into a book this year that that I think is a really good book. It's something like Business Practices for Photographers. It's by a Washington-based freelance photographer named John Harrington. And I don't know John, I'm not selling his book, but it seems to me that within that volume there's an awful lot of good business advice, good practical advice, good advice on how to deal with a client and maintaining your relationship with the client. So I think that's a good book to take a look at.
What's the biggest mistake you see photographers making, or something in your career that you wish you could do over?
I guess wanting to start at the top. Because again, like professional athletics, it's a gradual, evolving, building process. And there's a lot of people out there shooting hoops, and they all aspire to play for the Lakers, but the Lakers doesn't go to the local park to recruit people to show hoops. So photographers must have the patience. They must have the patience not to pay their dues, but they must have the patience to grow aesthetically and journalistically. And I spent 19 years in a newspaper, and I get very, very upset with people who think that newspapers are a place to go for a year to get your card punched. I mean, Tyler Hicks and Carolyn Cole, granted it's the LA Times and New York Times, but Tyler Hicks and Carolyn Cole gave a presentation here at Visa pour l'Image this morning, and they love working for newspapers. And you can grow at a newspaper, and not only that, but you can have a very satisfying long career at a newspaper. So young photographers shouldn't be too impatient to get to the top, however they define top.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your thoughts, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
Been great.